Let's get started. So for our yarn, we are going to be using I Love This Yarn brand in the color pink and also the color graphite. We will also be using a very small amount of white. My label is missing from this one, but it is a weight 4 acrylic yarn. We will only be using a small amount to line the outer rim of the eye. For our materials, we are going to be using polyfill stuffing, a 5.0 millimeter crochet hook, a 4.0 millimeter crochet hook, scissors, 12 millimeter safety eyes, and stitch markers, and also a yarn needle. Begin working with the graphite yarn and 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. So we are going to begin with the nose. We are going to begin by making a slip knot and chain 5 for round 1. Once we have that chain 5 finished, we are going to move on to round 2. We are going to start in the second chain from the hook, and we will make an increase, and then 2 single crochets, and then another increase. And once we complete this increase, we are going to turn our work and now work on the other side of the chain. We're going to make another increase, 2 single crochets, and then 1 more increase. At the end of this round, you should have 12 stitches. And now for round 3, we are going to make 12 single crochets. That's just 1 single crochet in each of these stitches. At this point, I will start using my stitch marker to mark the beginning of each round. And now for round 4, it's just going to be another 12 single crochets. And for round 5, this will be the last round, we will be making another 12 single crochets. After this last stitch, we will finish off our work and leave a long yarn tail for sewing on later. Once we have that complete, we can put that to the side, and we will now begin working on the chin. To make the chin, we are going to be using the 5.0 millimeter crochet hook and switch to the pink yarn. We will begin with a magic ring with 6 single crochets in it. And once we finish that last single crochet, we can pull the yarn tail to close up the magic ring. For rounds 2 and 3, it's going to be the same thing, 6 single crochets in each round. So I will go ahead and mark my first stitch of round 2 here. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work rounds 2 and 3, and then start the video back up at the end of round 3. So here we are at the end of round 3. We are going to finish off our work and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. I make sure that the tail for the magic ring is pulled really tight, and I go ahead and cut it at this point. We don't want to add any stuffing to the chin, it's just going to be flat. So now we are going to thread our yarn needle onto the yarn tail, pinch the top of the chin closed, and we are going to sew across the top, closing it up. You are still going to want to leave a long yarn tail for sewing on later. We can now put that aside and begin working on the bottom of her face. So now for the bottom of her face, we are going to be switching to the 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. Still using the pink yarn, we are going to make a slip knot, and then we are going to chain 3. This is row 1. For this part of the pattern, we are not working in the continuous rounds. We are now going to be working in rows, which means we chain 1 and turn at the end of each row, and we always skip the chain stitch on the next row. So for row 2 here, we are going to begin in the second chain from the hook, and we are going to make 2 increases. And then we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. So we are finishing up that increase. We are going to chain 1 and then turn. For row 3, we are going to skip that chain stitch and make 4 single crochets, and then we will chain 1 again and then turn. Right, we are at the end of round 3 here. We're going to make our chain 1 and turn our work. For row 4, we are going to skip the chain stitch, make an increase, 2 single crochets, and then another increase. And then we will chain 1 again and turn our work. So we're at the end of round 4. We're going to make that chain 1 and turn our work. For row 5, we are going to skip the chain stitch, make an increase, make 4 single crochets, and then 1 more increase. We will not be chaining 1 and turning at the end of this row. So at the end of row 5 here, we are going to turn our work sideways, and we are going to work a border across the entire piece. making single crochets. Sometimes doing this there aren't really stitches to work into, so you just kind of make your way across any of the holes you can find to work into. So I don't really do a stitch count for working around the border. Whenever you reach the corners of the piece, you can make an increase. It just helps keep the piece flat. Here we are back at the top. I will make these stitches increases where we are working into the opposite side of the original chain we did, and then we work our way down the last remaining side. Now we are going to continue working around again, just going around the same border we just created, making increase stitches whenever you reach a corner piece. When you reach the end, you want to make a slip stitch in that first stitch and then finish off your work and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. This is the only part of the pattern that uses the 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. So you can put that aside now along with this piece, and now we will begin working on the sides of the mouth. Working on the sides of the mouth now, we are back to the 5.0 millimeter crochet hook. Still using the pink yarn, we are going to make a slip stitch and then chain 4. We are going to skip the chain closest to the hook, so we are going to begin working in the second chain from hook. We are going to make a half double crochet, and in the next chain we are going to make a double crochet, and finally in the last chain we are going to make a triple crochet. After you finish the triple crochet, you can finish off and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. You can see here how using the 3 different stitches makes for a open mouth look. So you are now going to make one more side of the mouth, so you'll have 2 in total. We are now ready to make her ears. We are back to using the graphite yarn. We are going to make a slip knot and then chain 3. And now we are going to begin working in that second chain from hook. We are going to skip the chain closest to the hook. We are going to make a single crochet, and then in the next chain we are going to make a half double crochet. From here you can finish off your work and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. We will be needing 2 ears, so you can go ahead and make a second one. We will now be making her legs and feet. Using the graphite yarn and the 5.0 millimeter crochet hook, we will begin with a magic ring with 6 single crochets in it. We can now pull that yarn tail and close up the magic ring. For round 2, we are going to be making 6 increases. So we will end round 2 with a total of 12 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and put my stitch marker at the beginning of the increase for round 2. Now for round 3, we are going to be working in the back loop only. We are going to be making 12 single crochets, just 1 single crochet in each stitch, but make sure you are only grabbing that back loop. Now for round 4, we are going to be making 6 decreases. We will end round 4 with 6 total stitches. And from here we can just tuck that extra yarn tail down into the foot. I don't put any stuffing in the foot, I just use the extra yarn from the yarn tail. So rounds 5 and 6 are going to be the same thing, each 6 single crochets in each round. You will end this round with 6 stitches. And round 6 again is just 6 single crochets. You will end this round with 6 stitches. You can now finish off and leave a long yarn tail for sewing. You will need to make 4 legs. We will now begin working on the head and the body. For round 1, we will begin by making a magic ring with 6 single crochets in it. We can now pull that yarn tail and close the magic ring. For round 2, we are going to be making 6 increases. So we will be ending round 2 with 12 total stitches. You want to go ahead and mark that first part of the increase for the beginning of round 2. For round 3, we are going to be making 1 single crochet and 1 increase. That sequence is repeated 6 times. At the end of round 3, you should have 18 stitches. For round 4, we will be making 2 single crochets and then 1 increase. That sequence will be repeated 6 times. At the end of round 4, you should have 24 stitches. For rounds 5 through 8, we are going to be making 24 single crochets. We will just be putting one single crochet in each stitch. Each one of those rounds should end with 24 stitches. I will work through round 5 here on camera, and then after that you can pause the video and continue working up to the end of round 8, since all of these rounds are the exact same. And now we are finishing up round 5. You can pause the video here and work up to the end of round 8, and then start the video back up again whenever you complete round 8. So for round 9, we are going to make 6 increases in a row, and then we are going to make 18 single crochets. You will end round 9 with 30 total stitches. And that completes all those increases, and now we just continue on with 18 single crochets to complete the round. So for round 10, we are going to make 6 increases again, and then follow that by 24 single crochets. At the end of round 10, you should have 36 total stitches. Where all these increases are together, you want to really be careful counting your stitches. Some of the stitches can be really tiny, and you don't want to skip over any. So now we have completed all of those increases. We are just going to finish off the round with 24 single crochets. So now for rounds 11 through 13, you're just going to be repeating the same thing. It's going to be 36 single crochets, just one single crochet in each stitch. Each round should end with 36 stitches. I will work round 11 here on camera, and then you can pause the video and work through round 13 and come back to the video when you have completed round 13. And here we are at the end of round 11. Rounds 12 and 13 are worked the exact same way with 36 single crochets each round. You can go ahead and pause the video here and come back at the end of round 13. So after you have completed round 13, we are going to grab the nose piece and add some stuffing to it. From here we are going to take a small break from the crocheting and work on sewing the face together. As you are stuffing, you want the nose to maintain an oval shape to it. We are going to be sewing it to the front of the head body section. You want to make sure where we did all of those increases in rounds 9 and 10, they are facing the bottom. So when you sew the nose on, you want where you finished off to be on the top. And just try to center it as best you can on the front of the head, making sure that all those increases are on the bottom there. Once you have completed the sewing, you can make a knot and then weave your ends back into the body. So now we want to sew the chin part on. I do have the eyes placed here, but the backs are not on. I end up changing where I put them later on. So we sew the chin on directly underneath the nose and leave about a 1 round gap in between the nose and where you are sewing the chin on. You are only going to be sewing it on up at the edge that we sewed closed after we crocheted the chin. Once you are done sewing it on, you can weave the yarn back through the head and body. So here's what it should be looking like at this point. So now we are going to want to sew on the sides of the mouth. My safety eyes are still not attached. I will be moving them later. Once you get the mouth sewn on, it'll be easier to center up the safety eyes. So you want to position the sides of the mouth with the smallest section closest to the back of the mouth. We are going to be sewing the top portion of the side of the mouth to the side of the nose, and then the bottom portion of the side of the mouth will be sewn to the side of the chin. Once I reach the back of the side of the mouth, I do 1 stitch on the actual head before moving on to sew the bottom part of the side of the mouth to the chin. And now we are just going to sew the bottom of the side of the mouth to the side of the chin. You can knot your yarn here and then weave it back through and out the back of the body. And you also want to go ahead and weave the yarn tail from the other end of the chain back through the mouth and out the back of the body. And that completes that side of the mouth. We repeat the same process on the other side of the mouth. Again, you want to position the side of the mouth where the smallest stitches are in the back, and then that triple crochet we did towards the front. When sewing this side on, you want to check that it is even with the other side of the nose. Again, I will do one stitch on the actual head once I reach the back of the mouth. And then lastly, we just attach the side of the mouth to the other side of the chin. Here you can knot your yarn and then weave it back into the head and body. And then weave that last yarn tail back through the body. Now for the safety eyes. You want to place each safety eye at the corner of the nose. I place them approximately one row back from the nose and about 7 stitches apart. You want to make sure that they are even when you are looking straight on. So now we are going to use our white yarn and thread a piece onto our needle. And we are going to go through the back and thread the piece through the bottom of the eye. I like to make the whites of her eye in front. You can also place them in the back if you like that look better. I think that the front just fits her vibe more. You want to pull the yarn so that it is a very thin strip that is showing. The tighter that you pull the yarn, the thinner it will be. Whenever you get it however you like it, you can cut your yarn and tie your ends together in the back. At this point, you can go ahead and add the backs onto the safety eyes once you are sure where you want them placed. And you want to do the same for the other eye. You want to place the back of your other safety eye and tie those ends together of the white yarn. And then I just put all those ends into the head. And then you can slowly start adding some stuffing to the head. And now back to the crocheting. We are on round 14. We are going to make 5 single crochets and then 1 increase. That's repeated 6 times. At the end of round 14, you should have 42 stitches. So now we are on round 15. Rounds 15 through 22 are all going to be the same, 42 single crochets in each round. You can go ahead and pause the video here and work all the way up to the end of round 22, making one single crochet in each stitch. Each round will end with 42 stitches. So now we have completed through round 22. Now we are going to work on sewing on the ears. You want to sew them on 2 rounds back from where the eye is, and also have the top of the ear level with where the top of the eye is. Now want to sew the other ear on, making sure it is even with the first ear. Now we want to begin to stuff the body. Now we are back to crocheting again. We are on round 23. We are now going to be making 5 single crochets and then 1 decrease. That sequence will be repeated for 6 times. At the end of round 23, you should have 36 stitches. For round 24, we are going to be making 4 single crochets and 1 decrease. That sequence is repeated for 6 times. At the end of round 24, you should have 30 stitches. For round 25, we are going to be making 3 single crochets and 1 decrease. That's going to be repeated for 6 times. At the end of round 25, you should have 24 stitches. For round 26, we are going to be making 2 single crochets and 1 decrease. That's going to be repeated 6 times. At the end of round 26, you should have 18 stitches. At this point, you want to finish adding any extra stuffing you want to the body. And now continuing on to round 27, we are going to be doing one single crochet and then one decrease. That's repeated 6 times. At the end of round 27, you should have 12 stitches. So now you want to make any changes to the polyfill before we finish up the body. So now for round 28, it's going to be 6 decreases. At the end of round 28, you should have 6 stitches. At the end of round 28, you want to finish off your work. Leave a long yarn tail. Now we want to thread the yarn needle onto the yarn tail. And we want to go back through and pull up the front loop of each of the 6 stitches that we just did, pulling it closed as we go. This is going to close up the last round. At the end of the 6, you can make a knot and then weave your ends back into the body. Now we want to take the pink triangle that we made with the 4.0 millimeter crochet hook. We want to sew that on underneath her chin. We want it centered up. We just want to sew around that entire border. At the end, you want to knot your yarn and then weave it back into the body. So once we got those ends weaved in and we cut our yarn, we are now on to the last step, which is sewing the legs on. You want where you finished off on the leg to face towards the front, and you want her leg to go almost directly underneath the eye, about one row back from where the pink stopped. So you will go ahead and sew all the way around the leg. Once you are done sewing, you can knot your yarn and then weave it back into the body. You want to attach the second leg evenly with the first leg, again with where you finished off to face forward, and then go ahead and sew that leg on. You want to line up the third leg directly behind the front leg. And then finally you want to sew that last leg on even with the other legs. And with that, she is now done. If you like this crochet tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel.